Well, Coach, thank you so much for joining us today in what has been a very exciting week for you and your family. Congratulations on officially being the Jack Adams Award winner. I know it's been a whirlwind, and we'll get to all of that, but I first want to start with your initial reaction to find out you had won this award, this honor, in just your second year as an NHL head coach.
Yeah, it was in the moment I was in shock and pretty speechless in that moment, and then you look at the award, the trophy, and just very, very humbling. You look at some of the names and some of the coaches that have won that award in the past, and then you start to think about just how grateful and fortunate I am to be in this organization, to be coaching this team, and it's a pretty incredible honor.
Well, it's not like you just found out with a simple phone call. We were just chatting off camera about the very special process that took place this week with family coming from all parts of the country, your kids presenting it to you. For those who haven't seen it yet, take us through how you found out that you'd won this.
Yeah, there were a lot of people in on it, so I've still got some conversations to have with them about keeping some, but it was good. Basically, I was under the impression that we were doing an end-of-the-year sort of segment at Monumental Sports Downtown on air, and went to the studio, Joe B., and we were just sort of walking through some of the highlights of the season, some of my impressions of the season, and then I sort of turned, and there was a video playing that was more centered around the guys standing behind the bench and less with the players, and then I sort of knew something was up in it. Then the gentleman from the Hall of Fame came in with the Jack Adams trophy, and my family, my kids, wife Casey, and then my dad, stepmom, mom, stepdad, my brother, in-laws, and that was pretty special. It just made the moment and hearing that and all the emotions you go through them, but being able to hug your loved ones and sharing that special moment that I'll never forget.
Well, we know how important family is to you, the culture you create here. There's nothing better than coming to practices if it's a Sunday, middle of playoffs, and you have the families, the kids here. And so I think that's such a great way, and certainly encompasses everything that you and this organization stand for. And obviously, you have an incredible journey yourself, climbing through the ranks as a player, a coach, through the minor leagues. A very, very neat story. And I know mentors were a big part of this award as well, with the video that they shared and played for you. So describe some of those mentors and those people that have impacted your journey in getting to where you are today.
Yeah, I think about that all the time of just how incredibly grateful I am for, in my work life, your family. You're so appreciative of everything that they do, but in my work life, of all the different breaks that I've gotten along the way, and I call them breaks, meaning somebody taking a chance on you, or somebody mentoring you, or somebody helping you become a better coach, or maybe hire you when that was against the norm and I had not coached in that league yet. So all those different people, and a lot of them were in that video of the Jared Bednars of the world, Cale McLean, who hired me as a first coach, Robbie Kincannon from the South Carolina Stingrays, Brian Helmer from the Hershey Bears, who they took a chance on me hiring, and then obviously this organization. So just along the way of the last 15 years of coaching, it feels like a long time, and there's been a lot of different stops along the way, but there's just been so many. I just feel so blessed that I've been able to work with so many great people and so many people that have helped me. And I think that's, where my mind goes to of when you get recognized individually for something like this, there's just so many people that are the reason why.
Well, it's no question that you have built an excellent relationship with the players here, your staff here. I know the videos on social media after wins in the locker room with your speech are something that these fans love. But over the course of these 2 years as a head coach here, what do you credit building those relationships with and making them strong both on and off the ice?
Well, I think it's just something really when I was coming in here that this team has been so good and had such a strong foundation for so many years. The Stanley Cup winning team in 2018, the leadership group that was still here. So me coming in wasn't trying to reinvent the wheel or bring all these crazy ideas in that. It was more to just be myself and basically bring the group back together with a lot of different new pieces now, getting a little bit younger, some young players coming from Hershey, some players coming from some different organizations, and blending that in and bringing it to what was already here and what was already had been created. And I give our the last 2 years, the leadership and the core group that has been here for a long, long time, for them to accept me, want to be coached, and be totally bought into what we were trying to do, and them then to lead by example and go into the locker room and get everybody on the same page with how hard and how detailed we needed to play every night. So I'll be forever grateful to John Carlson, Tom Wilson, TJ Oshie, Nick Backstrom, because when I first came here, these were the guys that took our staff's messaging and how we wanted to play and all the things that we were going to ask guys to do on a daily basis. And some of it's really, really hard stuff, but it's required to maintain our standard. And those guys were instrumental, and they're essentially the reason why we've had some success the last couple of years.
And on the lines of that core, obviously an excellent season this past year, but everyone mentions the ultimate goal is always to be the one lifting the Stanley Cup at the end. What motivates you most to build upon such a successful season this year and grow that into even new things next year?
Well, I can tell you this, and obviously so humbled and honored, I would, in a nanosecond, trade that award to be playing for that trophy that started last night, without a doubt. So that's ultimately what we want to do as coach, our staff, our players. And so we're working towards that. I think we took some positive steps this year, but we still have work to be done, and we still have to get to another level. And that's the challenge in the off season of adding to our roster and being doing everything that we can to improve that. And then it's my job, once training camp starts, to, take another step from what we were able to accomplish last year and get to another level, so that hopefully in the near future, we're starting to play a game like last night.
Well, going back to the award for a second, obviously the hockey world is a grind. It's a grind for coaches, for players, for the families. And so when you think about your career as a player, as a coach, and here you are now, Jack Adams Award winner, what's maybe a piece of advice you would give your younger self or someone who is in your exact position 10 years ago?
Honestly, I would, this is non-hockey advice. This is because I think it's just as important as the teaching, the X's and O's, the planning of your training, all of that stuff, is make sure that your support system at home understands how much you appreciate them and understands how much you value, because you and what's required to be a head coach at any level that I've been at, whether it was in the East Coast Hockey League, the American League, the OHL. It is exactly what you said. The season is a grind. Training camp is a grind. The off season, recruiting and making phone calls, is a grind. And it's sometimes we just get caught in the work, and you're there and you're spending hours and hours and hours, days off in the rink, all this time there, and then you go home. And I think what I learned with a lot of help early on is when you're home and when you're with your support system and your significant other, make sure that you're present and you appreciate everything that they do when you aren't there, because your household does not run when you're at the rink for 16 hours a day or whatever it is, or you're on a 10-day road trip around the Midwest. It's so important to appreciate your support system at home. And I've learned to hope. Sometimes I'm not the best, but I always catch myself of they're the real rock stars and the CEOs behind the scenes that literally make everything possible for to be successful in this profession and to continue to grind.
Well, last one for you. a great year capped off with a very deserving award. But like you mentioned, people think, oh, the off season's vacation. It's not. There's a lot of prep that goes into these few months, and next thing we know, we're going to blink and it's training camp. So what excites you most for next season with this team?
Well, I think that what excites me is in a lot of our there's two things. Like when we left our end of the year sort of meetings with all the individual players, there was a little bit of you could tell this different than the previous year. This really bothered majority of our group, and just not in a way of they just were like, damn, like we were right there. We win a series there, and you get into the conference finals like that. It really, their reactions to how the season ended, not that it makes it any easier, but you can tell that there's a real there's a real part of them that's like, I'm gonna do what I need to do this summer to make sure that we can rectify this next year. And then the other part of it, so they were really, really bothered, majority of our group. And then there was this also great conversations of optimism of where this team is going, and understanding too, there's going to be a lot of work involved in this, and we're going to need to get better in a bunch of different areas. But there was this optimism of we're going in the right direction, and this team is capable, if we do take those steps, of doing something special. So that when you go into the off season, it's a long off season. You want to get away from the game, spend time with your family, sort of reset mentally and physically, and get ready to start training again. But when you have those thoughts of knowing that, gosh, like if we do this, we're right there. And that's pretty, because it gives you that optimism when you're going into the next couple months of if we continue to put the work in and put myself in a good position, and our job as coaches, management, all that stuff, there's potentially bright days ahead.
Well, there certainly are, and I think fans have a lot to look forward to. But, Coach, thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate it, and congratulations again.
Thank you so much.